Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Facebook Live event. I'm Nancy Meek, one of the co-founders of Smart Women Series USA. And today we're going to kick off a little series we're going to do called Smart Women Solutions. And given the time that we're in, everybody's going through so much with this lockdown and COVID-19. So we wanted to bring to you some tips and information and help, or things that might get you some help during this tough time. We're going to talk about lots of different subjects when we do these, from emotional to financial to everything you're going through. So today we're going to talk about financial. So we have an awesome partner from our event in January who is generously giving us his time and information on some things that will probably help a lot of you out there. And his name is Daniel Blue. I'm going to tell you a little bit about him. Daniel is a member of the Forbes Finance Council and president of Quest Education, which is a company that helps entrepreneurs obtain capital for their companies, pay off high interest debt, and use self-directed retirement accounts to invest in alternative assets. With over 10 years of educating small business owners, Daniel has a knack for helping individuals get creative with their finances, which can be life-changing results. So he clearly knows what he's talking about, and you really want to listen up here and see what you can learn. Daniel, welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to help out all of our listeners and watchers. And the floor is yours.
Nancy, thank you so much for having me on. We're making history right now. I know this is the first live session that you've had. It's a super honor to be the first guest. And I guess I am a little embarrassed that it's the first one and I haven't got a haircut in like 2 months. My dogs might start barking since they're downstairs getting crazy. So I think we're all in the same boat right now. Not a lot of haircuts going on. Got kids and dogs running around and just getting used to working from home. So super excited to share some things that I'm seeing right now in the financial world and what we're helping a lot of our clients out with. So for the audience, the role that we play, we help people take their IRAs and 401ks from their old jobs and get those converted into what's called a solo 401k. And a solo 401k is a retirement account that is for someone that is an entrepreneur who has no W-2 employees. So that's probably a lot of the people that are listening to this, watching this. Maybe you've got 1099 income. Maybe you've got an LLC, sole proprietorship, some kind of business intent that you have going on in the background. The solo 401k, what makes this retirement account unique is you can access the money without paying the penalties and taxes, and then use that money however you want. And that's a game changer, because most people, when they think of retirement accounts, they think of, well, shoot, this is money that's out of sight, out of mind. I can't touch it until I'm old. And if I do touch it, I'm going to get penalized and taxed. And that's not true. The solo 401k, it allows the freedom, the flexibility now. And I'll share here. Recently, I was just talking to a client, and they're paying about 15% interest on debt of about $30,000. So every month they're making the payments to pay down this debt. 15% interest is just crushing them. Meanwhile, they've got this retirement account that is making them 5-6% a year. So on one side of the coin, they're making 5 to 6% a year on their money. On the other side of the coin, they're losing 15% in interest to the banks. And once we help the individual understand that they actually could access the money in their retirement with no penalties and no taxes and pay off that nasty debt, that saves the interest where they're not bleeding that 15% interest anymore. And then, as you're familiar in being in the credit score space, since you're in real estate, their utilization rate is going to go down, right? So their credit score is going to go up. So there's just a lot of power with knowing what you can and can't do with retirement accounts that can really, really change people's financial futures.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. And what you're describing is really true. Since I do mortgages, we run into somebody that really wants to take advantage of these historical low rates right now, and their debt ratio is keeping them from qualifying. That's a good alternative. They can go and get the debt paid down, and now they can qualify, and it's a win-win. So that's another good vehicle.
Yeah, for sure. And it all starts with just knowing where you stand financially. If you can take one thing away from this phone call, whether you've got 10,000 in a retirement account or 100,000 or 500,000, doesn't matter. What matters is, do you know how much you're paying in fees with that retirement account? Do you know what kind of rate of return you're making on that retirement account? And a lot of people, they don't know the answer to that question. They don't know how much they're paying in fees. They don't know if they're making 3%, 5%, 10% a year on their money. And
True.
when it comes to our own money, especially investment money, those are two things we got to know. How much are we paying a year in fees, and what are our annual returns? And when you get a statement in the mail or an online statement, those financial companies, they get a little tricky. They disguise a lot of the fees. They're not very transparent. So when you get a statement, most people just look at the balance of the account. Did it go up? Did it go down? And then they just toss that statement to the side. They don't do anything with it. Well, if you actually look on the first or second, sometimes third page of the statement, there's a section on the statement called holdings, called positions. That is going to break down where your money is invested. So let's just say you have $50,000 in the retirement account. It's probably spread out over a few different mutual funds, a few different investments. You can Google the names of those investments, and Google's going to pull up a bunch of different search results that are going to give you the same information, where you actually can look up that specific mutual fund. And when you look up the specific mutual fund, you're going to want to look for what's called an expense ratio. An expense ratio is an annual fee that you're paying. Could be 0.5% a year, could be 1% a year. And then when you're looking at that investment, it's going to tell you what the 1-year return is, what the 5-year return is, what the 10-year return is. I was talking to a gal the other day. She had no idea how much her $100,000 was making her a year. She had no idea how much she was paying in fees. After I shared this exercise with her, she finds out she's paying 1.5% a year in fees. And then her 5 and 10-year returns, she's making like 4 or 5% a year. She goes, Daniel, how is this possible? How am I paying $1,500 a year in fees on this account, and my money is only making me 4 or 5% a year over the last 5, 10 years? And we both know the stock market's been crushing it, yet I'm only making 4% a year. How is this possible? Hey, that's a great question for the people managing your account. So knowledge is power, right? We all hear that, but you got to get the knowledge and then to know what kind of actions you need to take to change the course of direct direction.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm even guilty of a lot of that. It's just, one thing you don't always take the time to pay attention to, and you just think, set it and forget it, and not the best policy.
If you just did this at least once or twice a year, that exercise I just shared, look at the name of the mutual funds, look at the name of the investments. There's a website that I like to use. It's called Morningstar. Morningstar is a free website, free company, and you can just type in the name of the mutual fund or the ticker symbol there, and it just provides all of the information. I like it. It's just easy to navigate. It tells you the expense ratio. It gives you the trailing returns. I think people just did that once or twice a year. That way they can have a pulse on what their money is doing, and then ask better questions to their financial advisor, make better decisions with their money. Because one thing I truly believe in is no one cares more about your money than you do. It's your money.
Oh, I agree. And speaking of questions, I should mention, if you folks watching have questions as Daniel's educating you, put them in the comments below, and at the end we will get to them so that we can make sure we answer all the questions that you have. For sure. Yeah, this is great information. It's just something we should all know and do a better job at, for sure.
Yeah, and a lot of people aren't aware of this, because when you look at a solo 401k, it's a retirement account for an entrepreneur. And what happens is, when you get caught up with Fidelity and Vanguard and Charles Schwab and TD Ameritrade, where your money is held right now, they just want to sell you stocks. They just want to sell you mutual funds. They just want to sell you investments where they make money off of you. Why would they want to teach you a retirement account that gives you control over your own money? Why would they want to show you a retirement account that would allow you to take money out with no penalties and no taxes? There goes some of my dogs. I apologize. Got 3 of them. They're not going to want to have you take money out of your account with no penalties and use that money to fund your business.
Right.
Or use that money to pay off high interest rate credit card debt, or maybe use that money to invest in real estate. they don't make money off of that. So that's why this is something that's not talked about a whole lot. A lot of people aren't aware of self-directed IRAs and solo 401ks just because it goes against the business model for these big financial companies that are out there.
That makes perfect sense. And it's true. They're not going to be motivated to have you take your money away from them. So they're not going to build that up and tell you, sure, take it, go invest in something else. They want it there.
Yeah. So a lot of people right now with, the whole COVID-19 and the CARES Act, we're getting a lot of conversations, a lot of people reaching out to us. What should we do? What decisions should we make? Everyone's situation is different, right? So I am not securities licensed. I am not here to push a stock or sell insurance to you. What I always tell people is before you can make a change and do something different, you got to really figure out where you're at now, right? You got to start with, okay, the account that you've got set up right now, what are you invested in? How much are you paying in fees? What kind of returns are you making on your money? Do you have high interest rate debt? I've had people ask me, hey, what should I invest in? What I always come back with is, all right, what's your debt situation look like? Do you have credit card debt? Do you have lines of credit? Okay, you do. What kind of interest rates are you paying on that? 15, 20%? Well, shoot, what's the point of investing your money in real estate or stocks where you're making, let's just say 10 or 12%, and that's a pretty good return. Meanwhile, you're losing 15% interest to the banks. Right? So if you have high interest rate debt, the help that you need isn't investing your money. It's you got to pay off that debt first. So everyone's situation is going to be different, right? Maybe you have high interest rate debt that you got to take care of. Maybe you need some working capital for your business. I see a lot of our clients where once they understand that they can tap into their retirement with no penalties, they have the understanding of, well, shoot, if I can use money in my retirement with no penalties, this same money that I'm invested in the stock market where I'm making 6-8% on my money in stocks, I can use that same money and invest it in my own business, and I can make a higher rate of return than 6 or 8%. My business can make me 10%. My business can make me 20% a year. So why would I have my money invested in the stock making me 6 or 8% when I can use some of that money to put towards working capital, fund my own business? So you can get super creative with these type of accounts.
Yeah, it sounds like, the main thing is just getting educated on what your options are and, what makes the most sense for you. Because again, I think people just don't want to put the effort in, or they don't know what to ask or how to go about it. So that's why it's so valuable what you're doing to have the education.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point. Is they'd have no question, they have no idea what questions to ask. Unfortunately, a lot of financial advisors in this space, they're not educating their clients. They're not teaching them, hey, look, this is how you look up the returns you're making on your investments. This is how you see the fees that you're paying. They're not pulling the curtain back, right? That's not going to make them money. They just want people to just, hey, we'll talk to you once a year, once every other year. And when we talk to you, it's going to be about investing your money. So that's why I always say, hey, take ownership, get a better understanding of what your situation looks like. That way you can ask more questions. You can challenge the situation and be able to kind of shake the tree and get different results.
I agree. And especially right now, because there are so many people dealing with different financial challenges with their small businesses and just maybe they're going into debt, that they don't need to be going into because they could be tapping into that.
Yeah.
And, come out on the other side not so bruised and, in debt. It's a good time to look at that.
Yeah, right now, obviously, a lot of us are stuck working at home and we might have a little bit more time on our hands. But then I get it. I'm a small business owner as well. I don't have the biggest of companies. I've got 13 employees. We do all of the education, the customer service of clients' accounts. But I get it, right? We're so focused on our business, growing our business, marketing, operations, maybe payroll, just running the day-to-day operations. Sometimes our personal finances just take a back seat. Maybe that 401k you have from your old job that you worked at years ago, you haven't bothered to look into it. It's just out of sight, out of mind. Your IRA, you really don't pay attention to because it's out of sight, out of mind. But at the end of the day, it's money you worked really hard for. You put a lot of time and effort to generate that money. You might as well you want to make sure you might as well have that money work as hard as you've worked for it at the end of the day.
I totally agree. You want to address a couple of questions that we've got so far?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Here's one. How do I access the money from my retirement account without paying penalties and taxes?
So let's get into the current economic climate right now. Right now, there's what's called the CARES Act. The CARES Act, it has impacted the retirement account space. So if you are someone that's had your work hours cut, you've been let go, your business has been impacted, the CARES Act states that you can pull money out up to 100,000 with no penalty, no 10% early withdrawal penalty, and the taxes on that money would be avoided if you pay back what you took out within 3 years. I was talking to an individual the other day and he said, "Hey, Daniel, do I qualify for the CARES Act?" I started asking him some questions. His work actually picked up. He's working more. So he's not been impacted by the corona, by COVID-19 in a negative way. So he doesn't qualify for what I just talked about. So for him to access money in his IRA, he has an IRA, I think with Fidelity or Charles Schwab. He's like, "Daniel, I need to get my hands on this money with no penalties, no taxes. How do I do it?" Well, once we established he doesn't qualify for the CARES Act, we were able to help him convert that money into a solo 401k. Once it's in the solo 401k, the IRS does allow you to take money out with no penalties and no taxes. So for the person that did answer that, ask that question, for me to give you a specific answer, I would need to ask a couple more questions to see where you stand. Feel free to shoot me a message if you want to be able to speak with me in more detail, and I can give you some of the options that would be out there.
Okay, and when this is over, we will put a link in the comments below for them to reach out to you so they'll know how to find you and get some information on how to go forward or learn from you anyway. How about, what does high interest rate debt and retirement accounts have to do with each other?
That's a great question. So I was talking to a lady the other day, and when I was asking her about her debt, she's like, "Yeah, I've got about $20,000 in debt, and I think I'm paying about 13% interest. It's not a big deal." So okay, and we keep talking, and then we get to looking at her retirement accounts, and then I show her that her mutual funds are only making her 5% a year, and then she also looked at her debt a little bit more, and she wasn't paying 13% interest. She was actually paying 20% interest. So a lot of people, they think that they're paying X in interest, but when they actually look at the statement in the fine print, they're paying Y. So she went from thinking I'm paying 13 to she's actually paying 20%. So when she actually took a step back and she saw, okay, my debt is actually costing me 20% in interest, and my retirement account's only making me 5%. If you're losing 20% on one side and making 5% on the other, you're going backwards. You're losing money faster than you're making money. So that's what those two have to do with each other. On the flip side, maybe you've got a really good credit score. Maybe your debt is only costing you 3%, 5% interest, and then your retirement account is making you 9%, right? You're positive, right? You're going forwards, not backwards. So there is correlation between both of those buckets of money, debt, and then what you have in retirement.
Well, that makes sense. Okay, that's good to know. How can I use my retirement account to fund my own business?
That's a great question. So let's just assume that you are in the process of setting up a business, or your business is already established. If you don't have any W-2 employees, then you qualify for what's called a solo 401k. So assuming you have a 401k from an old job or an IRA right now, you could take either one of those accounts, convert it into a solo 401k, and then from there, you could take money out of that plan with no penalties and no taxes, and you could use that money however you want. If you wanted to use it to buy some inventory for your business, you can. If you wanted to use it to put into a marketing campaign, you can.
Awesome. Okay, that's good to know. What kind of retirement account options are out there for entrepreneurs?
So the main ones that are out there, what most people are going to be familiar with is either a SEP IRA or a simple IRA. Those are for self-employed folks. The the difference between a SEP and a simple IRA and a solo 401k, notice I've said solo 401k probably 15 times on this call, and I've only said a SEP and a simple once or twice, and that's for a reason. A SEP and a simple, there is no loan feature on that plan. So you actually cannot withdraw money out of a SEP or a simple without paying the penalties and taxes. So there's a big difference between those IRAs and the solo 401k. So if you're an entrepreneur and the idea of tapping into your retirement with no penalties and no taxes to pay off high interest rate debt or to fund your business, a solo 401k would facilitate that idea for you. A SEP or a simple IRA would not.
Okay, that's a good distinction to make. All right. That's all I have right now. Do we have anything else? I guess that was the bulk of the questions so far. So is there anything else you want to add at the end here?
You know, just the main one, and this is just, I've said it over and over, but I cannot stress it enough. If you've got money in a retirement account, just do yourself a favor. How much are you paying a year in fees, and what kind of returns are you making? It might not make it might sound like a big deal right now, but just imagine if you're paying, thousands of dollars a year in fees and you don't even know about it. If you're paying $2,000 a year in fees over 5 years, that's $10,000 in fees that you're paying. And if you didn't even know about that, wouldn't you want to know about $10,000 in fees over 5 years? Right. So just really, really make sure that, you just take a few minutes of your time, Google those mutual funds, Google those investments. Beauty of Google is we have everything at our fingertips, and it gives you all the information that you need. So, just do yourself a favor and get a pulse on your money. If you have questions about anything that we talked about, use me as a resource. I'm pretty active on Facebook, so you can just shoot me a direct message, or you can go to our website. It's YOUR, it's yourquest.com. Name of my company is Quest Education, and our website is yourquest.com. We've got some information on the website that you can take a look at. There's also a contact us form there where you can just put in some of your basic information, and then myself or my team would reach out to you. And the best thing about it is when we get on the phone with you, notice on this call that we're having right now, I'm not selling stocks, I'm not selling real estate, I'm not selling insurance, I'm selling solutions. And maybe it's you've got high interest rate debt, maybe you need capital for your business, maybe you want options other than the stock market. Really just comes down to your situation and what you're looking to accomplish to be able to facilitate a solution for you. So we're just here to solve problems and not shove product down people's throats.
I love that. And that's really, really good information. That's going to help a lot of people that had no idea that was out there, especially right now with everything going on. I probably need to take a deeper dive into my own. So I'm in the same group, but thank you so much for taking the time and just sharing all that with us. And again, we'll have a link to Daniel's business in the comments, so you can reach out to him through his website, Facebook, whatever you want to do, and take the time to talk to him, let him educate you, and you can ask questions, at least find out if you can be, having a benefit using this. So thank you so much for taking the time.
Hey, Nancy, thank you so much. We made history today. So I really appreciate you having me on today.
Yes, we did. Thanks, Daniel.
All right,
Bye, everybody.
Bye.